Okay, we're going live here. It's 7 o'clock in the morning. It's 2 or 3 in the afternoon in the Ukraine. And communicating with the family, we've realized that there's been a giant turn of events in the last 24 hours there. Now, originally, we were told they weren't passing out firearms, but again, I believe everything is central to Kiev, the nation capital. So I was told that when the Russians did attack, now, when they first started this, it was strategic hits. They really weren't targeting any civilians or anything. And a lot of the comments, we'll go into that in another video about what kind of really is going on there and what they were originally attacking. Now, I was told, in the first 24, 48 hours that there was nobody handing out rifles or nothing, and that no civilian targets or buildings were being bombed or fired upon. So this, as of today, Saturday, has changed drastically in country. Just been on the Skype with my wife's aunt, and she turned on the TV and we were listening to the news live there in the Ukraine. Okay, so basically what happened is at first the Russians seem to be doing strikes that were strategic and not widespread, and they weren't destroying or attacking civilians. And like they were bragging, they were handing out guns. At first, that didn't happen. So what has happened is, and on our news, they were saying that Kiev was going to fall in 24 hours. So the Russians pushed in. So what has happened in the last day is the Ukrainian armed forces have fought back. Okay, and they have fought back to a casualty rate of where 1 Ukrainian death to 4 Russian soldiers killed. So the Russians are taking extremely heavy, disproportionate losses. So much so that is probably why they stopped the advance on the Ukraine. Basically, I was told that the younger generation there in Ukraine, people 35 and younger, do not have the ties to Russia like the older folks do, and they are fighting back. Everybody thought Kiev would fall in 24 hours, and they'd start peace negotiations. Well, obviously, the Russians have suffered losses. This is what I've been told, 4-1. There are a lot of Russian dead. They don't know what to do. This is a problem because the Ukrainians ain't going to clear them off the battlefield. They're trying to get the Red Cross in there and all this other stuff. So now it's changed from where the Russians were doing strategic attacks to where now the Russians have basically gotten bloody and come to a standstill and are losing somewhat in a military sense. So now they've increased and changed their, changed their game plan. All right. So basically my aunt said that some cities have lost power. Okay. Now, when they came into the Ukraine, the bridges were blown. The Russians did not blow the bridges. The Ukrainians blew the bridges so they cannot cross the Dnieper River. So as they attacked Kiev, somewhere up in the north there was an airfield, a military airfield. And the Russians tried to have airborne operations to drop down on it and capture this strategic point. She said that the airborne operation, they wiped out all the Russians So they took heavy losses in this maneuver. So the Russians are losing ground as we speak, or they've had setbacks and taken heavy casualties. So now that the Ukrainians, much like you see, are standing their ground in Kiev, and it's just a massive evacuation, and people are really freaking out. What has happened? The Russians have changed their strategy, and now I was told, as we speak, it's all-out warfare. It's gone from this strategic strike, capture the city. The Russians, and I was told the reason is the Russians thought that the Ukrainian people would just say, okay, yeah, get rid of the government, leave us alone. And most of the simple folks, that's the way they feel. But as when I said in the other report, there's a lot of things and a lot of politicians in this country that have some sort of money dealings and illegal stuff going on. They say there's money laundering and everything going on there, but and that's why everyone's outcrying. And they were not going to send NATO, and they were not going to send U.S. troops in there. But now things have changed. The Russians have appeared to have changed their strategy, and now they've gone from this strategic strike, do this quickly, get it over with, to where now there's resistance. They've suffered heavy losses, and now it's all-out war. So as the TV was going on again, 2 o'clock, 2:30 in the afternoon, the Russians are targeting hospitals, schools, and there are civilian casualties. Now it's all-out war. Okay. What they're doing is they send troops. There's all kinds of wild things. There's a lot of subversive type of activities going on. Units are going out and placing some sort of markers on buildings that they have to target them. And they said on the news there that they've hit several schools, hospitals, apartment buildings are being attacked, which if you've ever been there, the apartment buildings are quite large. They're all on one side of town, the old communist apartment, and they go up 12, 13 floors. So dropping a bomb or hitting one of them with a missile is pretty disastrous. So it looks like this is shifting from what it was, what we thought it was, and what's going on. It doesn't look good. So this is why you're seeing the politicians saying all this stuff. I guess the UN resolution was passed over or ignored. And also another strange thing, they said that any of the people they captured, the Russian they captured, they don't, well, according to them, they don't look Russian. You know, Russia's a huge place, and there's people of different ethnic backgrounds. And they said some of them were from way up in Siberia. They brought units down made up of these people. And they said there's Chechens being brought in. So far, the only country that has offered any type of military aid is in troops, and that is Moldova, okay, which is that little country off into the western side of the Ukraine. The United States has not moved in. NATO has not moved in yet. Okay. But I guess Kiev, as we speak, you know, I don't think our news has got to it. I haven't checked. But it's escalated to where this is going to all-out warfare, which, you know, my relatives there and I didn't believe it. I believe Putin would have went in there, you know, tore up some stuff. And if they back down, and, you know, because they were talking about peace negotiations and then ending this, you know, we thought it'd be over in a week or two, and then whatever, they settle it up. But obviously this is not. The Russians have taken losses. They're not advancing. They're trying to advance on Kiev, and if you've ever been there, it's quite a large city. And I guess now they've gone into a all-out war mode where they're just going to blast the hell out of everything. There are civilian casualties. People have been trying to flee. There's this huge, like World War II, this big refugee problem. They're trying to get into Poland or get out of the country. Like I said, my wife's family don't live in any type of a major city. But while we were talking with my wife's aunt, people were calling that different cities have lost power. So now what's going on is, instead of your conventional war, there is this subversive stuff where, and everyone's going to try to blame everybody. What they're going to do is, now they're starting to damage the infrastructure, and this is what we are afraid of, where they're going to destroy all the power generation facilities, cut off water, cut off electricity to the populace. There is Chernobyl. I guess Chernobyl, even though they had the one reactor explode or something, I guess from what my Russian isn't that well, there are four generators there. And even with the radiation and that, two of them are still generating power. So Chernobyl still is generating power. I didn't know that. And I guess the Russians are in control of it. And now they're worried because if you wanted to, a nuclear power plant is one way to, basically have an event or use it as a weapon by destroying it and then releasing radiation throughout it. So this is a fear, and there's a lot of activity in the Chernobyl region. I guess at this point, the Russians do control the Chernobyl power plant. The bombings, shellings, and attacks on cities has now gone from more than just Kiev. They're attacking everywhere. It's all-out attack. And as we know, the Ukrainian military is not as large when you've seen it as the Russians, and the Russians have not sent in all of their troops. So it appears that they're escalating. Like I said, she had the TV on. We were listening to TV live, the live broadcasts from all over the country. And, there's reports of civilian casualties, buildings being destroyed, all this other stuff. So it looks like this is taking a turn for the worse. Now, they thought the same thing that we did, and everyone thought the same thing, that, he's going to go in there, make some strategic strikes. This government and that, with nobody backing it or sending troops in, is going to fold up pretty quick. But my aunt said the younger people don't look at it that way, and they are resisting. And the Russians foolishly thought it would be a very easy thing. She said that's what she thinks, is they thought that everybody would just surrender and that would be it. And they came in with that attitude, and it cost them dearly. So I guess now the attitude of the Russians was, we're going to come in here, just blow up, tear up some stuff. And now that they're resisting and killing them, it appears, at least for now, that it's all out war. Okay, they're starting to destroy buildings, attack civilians, and it's getting nasty as we speak. Matter of fact, let me go. I'll make a quick check here of what's going on. You got anything else? My wife's in another room talking to her aunt. So, I just wanted to get this out because I made that video. I got a ton of hits yesterday, a lot of comments. some people were saying, hey, my cousin went there and he got issued a rifle. And what they've done is they have civilians, like they say on TV, they've given them guns and they're all wearing armbands. It's the only way to tell who's who. And they are guarding, they have actual citizens guarding areas there. As for what it looks like is going to go down, I mean, this is bad. If they're starting to destroy the infrastructure, and this is a full-blown war. So I don't know if this will provoke intervention from other countries, the U.S., NATO, or whatever, if this is going to escalate into something worse. Let's go take a look. What's going on? Anything worse?
You. No, just I'll tell you in a minute.
Okay.
Just okay.
All right. So obviously, after we've seen the news, that is what's going on. I just wanted to get that out. Like I said, we have to contact people. It's like 7 a.m. here. It's like 3 o'clock in the afternoon there. So that's what's going on, and it don't look good. Okay, now going back to the original video, a lot of people, and I've seen several blogs where Ukraine, I've been there. Okay, it's an impoverished country. It's not like United States or anything. I mean, Poland's way better, but Poland, a lot of these countries, which you don't understand, is the major cities and places is where people have jobs and that. But ever since the fall of communism, all these Eastern Bloc or Eastern European countries were pretty impoverished. And of course, the United States government had a program of bringing them all into NATO, be it Poland, Romania, Bulgaria, and that. And they've worked over these years to integrate them into the European Union and NATO. Now, Ukraine was kind of abandoned. And what happened is a lot of people have a theory, and I can't discuss that. I won't discuss that in communications with them in Ukraine because things are monitored. And if you mention certain things, they will immediately cut off the communication from their end. And that's the way it's been for a long time. But the one blog said that what Putin was destroying were supposedly these biolabs that they said they're not in China. They were building them in the Ukraine. And also another thing is all of the major politicians that are complaining and yelling about democracy and that, their children are on the board of directors of these energy companies which are screwing around in this country. And basically, much like Argentina was post-World War II, the Ukraine, post-end of communism, has become a hotbed of corruption, money laundering, and all this other stuff. All these politicians here in the U.S. have made millions of dollars from dealings going on. And this guy said, basically, what Putin was doing is actually this military incursion was taking a stab at the deep state. Now, where it makes sense is back in 2014, they were talking about bringing the Ukraine into NATO. And he did this. And this is another thing my aunt mentioned. There's troops and people wandering around there with no insignia. Okay, generally, like, any military unit, you have insignia, at least your country patch, or some sort of unit insignia, like she said, the different divisions or whatever, they'll have a symbol on their uniform. There's an awful lot of soldiers wandering around there with no markings whatsoever. Okay, and this is where the confusion lies. There have been reports of the Russians putting on Ukrainian uniforms to go perform these acts of sabotage and sneak in behind lines or place beacons and locators on certain buildings. That's what the news was saying, is that units were going around placing some sort of markers or locators, physically placing them on the buildings, and I guess that brings the precision ordnance in down on us. And they're saying on the news, if you find some kind of device on your building to either cover it or put something on tar on it or something, I don't know. So this is an ongoing thing. Well, back in 2014, when they had the regime change and started setting up this stuff, in standard fashion, what Putin didn't declare war, sent unmarked soldiers in and took over the Donbass region and down into the Crimea. And again, this is covering the location of the military installations for the Black Sea Fleet. Then they had this election, and the Crimea voted to be a protectorate of Russia or whatever. And the thing about it is the Ukraine's population has dropped over the years, and the Crimea didn't have a large population there. So they said it was kind of easy, and people believed that they would vote to go with Russia. Now, President Putin has done this in several other former Soviet states. I think, where was it? Down in the south there. One guy was welcome in the United States and all this other stuff, and it's either Uzbekistan or one of them. And what happened is he just said to hell with it, went in there, took over 3 key places, military bases or whatever, and occupied them and just stayed there. Then he told them, do whatever you want with the country, but I'm not leaving these regions. And this is the same tactic that he did with the Ukraine back in 2014. He took the sections he wanted to control and basically has been in control of them. And they have been at war since 2014 over this. There has been constant fighting. They shot down that airliner at one point, but the fighting there for the Donbass region and on the border turned into this weird World War I style stuff where there's trenches and there's shooting back and forth. And people have, in the Ukrainian military, and that people have been, fighting and dying there since 2014 or so. All right, so kind of thought he was coming in and just end this, and then the general consensus is that he was going to force out the government there and set up some other government that is favorable to him. So that was what we thought the game plan was, and that's what he has done to that point, is to seize control of the strategic area. Well, now people have been saying a lot of these things in the initial attack are kind of, some kind of secret stuff. People mentioned the CIA and all this other stuff. And I did not talk about that with them overseas, because if you're heard saying these things, we've had communication cut off when certain key words are said. So I did not ask. But it appears that this war started off as a strike on a deep state. And if you see Hillary Clinton's out, all these politicians, and what it is the one guy said on the blog, how you fight these people is just to destroy their illegal income. Okay? And basically, that is what's going on. It's not actually a war of conquest to the Ukraine. It's a war against the deep state. And what they're going in there to do is to remove the political people who are allowing this, okay, and to get the corruption and all this money laundering and stuff that's going on there. And they said that's why you see the politicians. And the one guy's premise was that if this succeeds, he said it's going to topple this supposed deep state. But it looks like it's not that simple, okay, because the fighting back, I guess the Russians didn't expect it. And the Russian military, which is much larger than the Ukrainian forces, is holding on, which they didn't believe that would happen. Everyone was saying that Ukraine or the Kiev would fall in 24 hours. So now this has gone from kind of a simple deal to where it's starting to get extremely nasty, and it's going to escalate, I believe. Somebody, if they keep blasting the hell out of the country, and if they come in full force in a full-scale war, yeah, somebody is going to, I believe somebody's going to intervene. Okay. Who or what? I don't know. And actually, who's fighting there is another question. Are they regular Russian troops, or are they unknown mercenaries? There's a lot of units and individuals fighting here that there's no clear designation of who they are. See, this is another strange thing whenever these things happen. My aunt said most of the people that they captured, the Ukrainians, when they pull these masks off of them, they don't appear to be Russian or Slavic people. That was one odd thing. And, you know, from what she said, they are losing people at a rate. And, you know, the Ukrainians had dug in, fought back, and they didn't expect it. And they took an awful lot of casualties. And this was a problem. She goes, they actually stopped because there were so many dead. They didn't know what to do. So this is a problem. There's, you know, corpses lying all over. So I guess the Russians and their, well, Russians are Russians, you know, now they're coming back harder. So I guess we'll see what happens. But that's what I got currently from the people living there. Okay. And that's how the situation looks. I don't know if this is going to escalate. And, well, they already told us it's going to affect us. The price of gas is going up. How it's going to affect us here in the U.S., how it's going to affect our Freedom Convoy. And the president's having a State of the Union address next week. Okay, so there's going to be some interesting stuff to see here. But I'm going to end the broadcast and see how it goes. I may have another one or put up a video later today. A lot of information. We've been talking to our aunt here for 2 hours, and I was listening to the Ukrainian TV, and they're all in a panic and that. And yeah, Trevor. Here's the thing here. Yeah, you had UN troops come up there. And, okay, I seen that. That was, you know, like I said in the original video, I'm just trying to do update because I'm getting this information live right now about what's going on in the Ukraine. And Canada, that's another topic. Okay, what went on there? Yes, they sent UN troops. That was extremely odd, but that's what they're saying here. They're saying here that my aunt said, you know, like any military unit, you have a division insignia or whatever. She was trying to explain to me that there's all these troops here that have no unit markings, no nothing, and you don't know. And the fact is, Ukraine was part of Russia, so now when you're looking, the tanks and armor vehicles all look the damn same. So if you got a tank that's blown up, is it a Ukrainian tank? Is it a Russian tank, or what's going on? So there's a lot of stuff that the mainstream media, and she was listening to something on the news there, and she said that at one channel what they were saying was all bullshit. But no, the war has gotten much worse there. And I really didn't expect it. My relatives didn't expect it. They're not going to go anywhere because normally, in the Ukraine, when I was there, the power will go out for days. Stuff didn't function well. The infrastructure is bad. And that's going back 25 years. Okay, there was no war. That's just the normal way life is there. Okay, it's not, the country is, the people there suffer on a daily basis, war or no war. Adding a war just makes it all a hell of a lot friggin' worse. Because I guess now, now you don't know. Now that they're blasting civilian buildings and apartment buildings, now everybody's in a world of shit. But then again, that is a tactic to flood this, the roads with refugees and getting. I guess I was watching a picture of the train station there in Kiev, and I mean, it was mayhem. People were trying to get on any train and waiting for hours, and the woman said, "I just gave up. I can't. I'm going back to my apartment, take my chances." A lot of people trying to flee the country. Okay, or driving to Poland or whatever. And if you're in that age group, if you're a guy and you're in that age group, they're yanking you out of the car and telling you to go back. And some people, I guess there was a woman, they told her to go back. So there is going to be a humanitarian thing involved in this. It's going to be a mess. But let me go. And if I get any more info, I will do another live broadcast, or if I hear anything else, it may be the start of a major war. Okay, the way it looks, the way this is changing, and it changes by the hour, just like everything. So, I got 34 of you fellas here early in the morning. I thank you for showing up to my broadcast. Hopefully, this won't violate anything and get me totally banned from YouTube, but I've been trying to be careful. I don't know anymore. Okay. All right, guys. Thanks, and stay tuned.